All right, guys. So every ecom brand owner is asking, or maybe not asking, should you run PMax or Demand Gen, right? And where should your budget be focused in 2026 on Google Ads? So let's start by going through what both are. So PMax is one of the strongest campaign types on Google Ads. Basically, it leverages Google's AI to really automate your sales, kind of like Advantage Shopping with Meta. But basically, it leverages all kinds of machine learning signals in order to really achieve your ROAS targets and scale. All right. So that's PMax. Now, the thing with PMax is it has full control over where your ads appear. It's purely Google's job. It decides when to show your ads, where to show it, the different devices, and so on. All right. So again, it leverages Google's different platforms such as search, Google Shopping, YouTube Display, Gmail, Discover, Maps, really anything that's Google owned. All right. Now, when is it great to absolutely run PMax, right? Now, this is not a black and white question. We have brands that have scaled to over 1 million and, they're running PMax, mainly, right? However, in general cases, PMax is great for bottom of funnel. And the reason for that is, again, its retargeting is absolutely incredibly powerful. It leverages all kinds of signals. It's going to retarget whoever, was interested in your brand ages ago, right? So again, it's great for bottom of funnel. It's great for reaching out to a broad audience across Google's, different channels, and it's great for someone who really, just wants a more hands-off approach with optimization. You still obviously need to optimize a lot. However, overall, there's definitely less to optimize in PMax than other campaigns. Now they're adding more insights and more ability for you to do that, right? Feed matters massively for PMax, and that's something that we cover in other videos. If your shopping feed is not optimized, assuming that you run shopping campaigns or that you're in ecom, your PMax is going to suffer. So that's one thing to note. Now, what are the downsides of running PMax, right? Again, it doesn't have as much transparency with some of the search, the reporting that you get from other campaigns. Aside that, things like, audience targeting, you don't have nearly as much control on your audiences. Branded search can absolutely eat up your PMax spend, which you don't want if you don't, optimize your structure correctly and you don't exclude brand. So that's PMax, right? Again, super powerful, absolutely AI focused, but you don't have as much control over the actual targeting. You don't have as much control over the search themes, the keywords, and so on, right? Now, what is Demand Gen, right? Demand Gen is one of Google's sort of massive opportunities right now. It can really become a cash cow for you if you know how to run it correctly, right? So basically, Demand Gen is Google's version of top of funnel, right? Which means this is where it really focuses on people that haven't necessarily seen your brand before, right? And so, too many people would complain that Google is mainly bottom of funnel, but that's actually not true, because now with Demand Gen, you can absolutely scale to massive numbers. Again, we're seeing record numbers thanks to Demand Gen, right? So Demand Gen, where does it work best? From my experience, YouTube. YouTube, massive opportunity with not as much competition on there as in other. Also, it's on Discover, Display, Gmail, and so on, right? And so Demand Gen is absolutely brilliant for top of funnel or middle of funnel. You can absolutely use it for retargeting as well, just as good. So yeah, this is where you focus on Demand Gen. Now, your creative for Demand Gen is absolutely crucial. The trick with Demand Gen is you need to be persistent in really testing all kinds of different creatives. Again, think of it like Meta. You need to find the winning creative, guys, and you need to be ready to really test lots and lots of creatives before you find a winner, right? Again, you need to be ready to spend, higher budgets on that, at least ideally over 100 per day. And so, yeah, we have a look at the comparison here. You can see the placements for both, what type of funnel, the audience control. The great thing with Demand Gen is that you can absolutely target your audiences. And so we like to really focus on targeting in-market audiences. That happens to be very high intent. Competitor audiences as well, super high intent. If you want to go broad, look at things like affinities, but that's what we really focus on with audiences, and that's what you want to do. For retargeting, look at abandoned carts. That's a huge one. All right. So again, product feed, you can also connect to, your shopping feed and so on, right? And so again, what's the real focus here, right? The real, decision here, I would say, is to run both if you can. Again, PMax really leveraged that for scale, for bottom of funnel, and for, feed only, shopping feed, different assets, and so on. Whereas Demand Gen leveraged that to really acquire new audiences and new clients. And so what you can do is you can absolutely have basically both of them working together. So let's say you launch a Demand Gen campaign, you have a strong ad, it generates interest, a potential prospect clicks that, doesn't really do much, but sees another ad, perhaps searches you, and then maybe PMax retargets that same individual, right? And so that's why both work absolutely brilliant. And so with that being said, if you would like us to run your Google Ads, implement this for you, and absolutely scale your brand on autopilot, feel free to reach out and we'll have a conversation and get your ads started in record time within 24 to 48 hours.